Hey everybody, this is Chris, your TA for this class. In this last little video I'm going to do, I know it's great, it's the last one. I'm going to go through and basically describe to you what it means to have a portfolio and turn that into a good portfolio or a great portfolio. And just give you some simple guiding tips. We're going to cover 3 different photographers in this video. Catherine Opie, she is probably one of my favorite fine art photographers. She teaches out at UCLA. Great person to go through and study. Annie Leibovitz, who some of you might know her works. Some of you might know her work but not know the name, so we're going to go over that a little bit. And also very famous photographer named David LaChapelle. Once again, some of you guys might know who he is. Some of you guys might know his work, but not know exactly who he is in accordance to his images. But we're going to cover these 3 and actually really go over 3 different aspects in this video. Basically, aesthetic, continuity, and storytelling. Basically, what this means is how to go through and appropriately put together with a simple same idea inside of a single portfolio, how to go through and light it properly so it's unification with throughout the whole entire series, so it doesn't look like it's more than one photographer doing this. And also really how to go through and use your imagination and play around with your concepts and how to do everything. There's a lot of different lighting styles that you've learned so far within this class, spotlight versus panning light, how to use gels and everything, and that's really important, and we'll be touching part of that in this video as part of that last concept. But as I said, the first photographer we'll be talking about is Catherine Opie. She focuses a lot of her portraits on the LGBT community. It's really quite interesting how she goes through and incorporates the portfolios. She almost does it as a costume on her portraits, with fake mustaches, going through and showing that the facial hair and everything about these people are not, it's not natural, it's not real, but this is who they self-identify as, whether it's going to be a male going into a female, female going into a male. And then she also takes this same aspect and idea about lighting and the simple backgrounds that she uses and turns that into her portfolio featuring children, which is actually a really interesting concept in the way that she actually has interfolded the two into one, the 2 portfolios into one idea. And so as we get into this, we can go through and see that the backgrounds are simple, such as this one right here. It's a simple, plain color background. The background that she uses in these portfolios really do go through and make, once you look at them all lined up, make the gay pride flag colors. And so, in a way it's metaphorical, in a way it's symbolic, but it's still simple. And there's nothing in the backgrounds that really takes your eye away from the subject matter in this image. It really allows you to concentrate on who we're looking at in the picture. And the great thing about Opie is that she's really consistent about doing this. Her lighting is very well even. It's very flush, so we can actually go through and see all the details in the face. There's really no dramatic effects in here. You can see, especially in this image right here, where on either side of the glasses, where you can see the 2 soft boxes that she uses to go through and make this very even lighting in there. But you can see, especially in the chin part of this goatee, where it's a fake goatee. You can tell that it is a costume. It's what these people put on to go through and self-describe as. And it's very, very evident that it's fake attire. But this is who they are within the LGBT community. But as you can see, it's very simple lighting. I added this one in because I do believe that there is one portfolio in the past where in the portrait section, the beginning portrait section, where somebody tried to use a hair light or a back light on a backdrop, and it wasn't quite showing up as well as what they were hoping for. And this is really a demonstration for that, to show exactly how that should be done. Where you can see that now separation between the highlight of the backlight and the subject matter that you're photographing. But as we continue on, you can see that these are personas that the people put on. It's very constant throughout the whole entire portfolio. The lighting's very well even. Like I said, there's no dramatic shadows. And as I said, she does a portfolio of children, which the portfolio really gets into that same style of lighting. Very well lit, or very evenly lit, very soft light. Yes, we get a little bit more shadows into the point where here on camera left, we see a little bit more shadow of the little boy into the background. We see it on the camera right outside of this child's face, a little bit more of a shadow going into the effect, but it's also backlit on the backdrop, so she doesn't fade into the backdrop. And then same thing with this one here on the camera left side of the child's face. We see a little bit more of a shadow going into it, but that's all caused by a different style of lighting than what Opie was doing for, let's say, this image, or this image right here, or where we can see both of the softboxes shining onto the subject's face. And what makes that difference from here is that I would go into saying it's a very singular softbox style of lighting here, coming in from one direction in this case, and in this case it would be from camera right. In this case would be camera left, camera right. So camera right, and camera left here. And then I will throw into these image, or into the series, a quick lighting diagram, either that was taken of a quote behind the scenes shot of each photographer, or a lighting diagram. For instance, this is what Opie most commonly used. The setup she used for this portfolio. Now, this is a photo of Catherine Opie in her studio. You can see with the dress here, with the subject matter which she's photographing. You see, this is two simple softboxes coming in from either side of the model to go through and get this image. You can see how well lit, how there's really no room for any type of dramatic shadows in here, and there's really nothing in here that is not well lit, that causes a distraction as far as the lighting or shadows are concerned. So here, so this is a quick, simple way. She does use, like I said, the two soft boxes. Doesn't use the umbrella on the spotlight here. She has it. She has that for her capability to be used, but is not being used here. The next photographer, as I said, we're getting into is Anna Leibovitz. Annie she's done very, very famous work. I think recently, I would say that if you want to consider quote controversial work, her latest work would be with Miley Cyrus, before Miley started going off the deep end a little bit. And I think it was a Vanity Fair magazine, where it was Miley's first quote nude shoot, where she was like 17 years old. Her dad, Billy Ray Cyrus, was there, and didn't show anything except for a bare back, but Miley went through and later and said she regretted this. Caused some heartache and issues for Leibovitz, but I don't think it was that big of a deal, because she's gone on to do much bigger and better things. Been around since, I believe, the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. Was one of the last photographers to photograph John Lennon in the early 80s. But yeah, really great photographer. What we're focusing on here is the way she's able to go through and do a storyline and really stick to a single subject. And this time, this subject matter is Disney fairy tales. She uses, instead of, unlike Opie, who uses one or two lights to go through and light up an image, Leibovitz will go through and use, 7, 8 sometimes 9 different lights to go through and do different stages within the photograph. Then she'll go through and layer, in post-production, layer these photographs together, but they become virtual visual masterpieces in the way she conducts these images and the way she's able to photograph them. But once again, they're fluent. They go together into a single portfolio, a single story. In this case, the theme, like I said, is Disney fairy tales. And so we go through and see Cinderella's ball here. She's running away from, the clock has struck midnight and she's leaving the ball. Now, grand fact, yes, you'll know some of the people in here, if you look at these photographs a little bit closer, like this is Scarlett Johansson. So, we're seeing these, people, even the subject matters, the people who are being photographed are fantasy people. These are people that we see on the big screen, whether it's going to be the big screen or the silver screen, the TV screen, and so they're put into surreal situations, fantasy situations. So it's fantasy on top of fantasy. We're talking about, double fantasy here, as well as the fact that the whole entire landscape that Leibowitz paints on here is fantasy. So here we see, even more with Beauty and the Beast, right after the Beast changes from the Beast to the human, his human form again. Right here we are dealing with Peter Pan, with Wendy and Peter and Tinkerbell, and but you have to remember she uses 6, 7, sometimes 8 different strobe lights and flashlights and reflectors to go through and get the light that she wants. She uses a lot of in post-production, as if you couldn't tell, that's not a real background that through the window that Peter's coming into, and Tinkerbell, who I believe, I can't remember who Tinkerbell was here, but is actual I think somebody said it was Katy Perry actually who is Tinkerbell. I'm not 100% sure though, but who that is. I mean, every single person in here is an actual legit famous person. Right here is Captain Hook and the alligator. It's I can't remember Richard's last name, but yeah, it's one of those it's pure fantasy where but once again she uses 7, 8, 9 different lights in here to control the lighting styles and get the dramatic effects that she's wanting. Everything is very well lit. There is every shadow in here is intentional. Every light, every highlight in here is intentional. That's something that we as photographers really need to focus on to get the exact effect that we're looking for. There's nothing in our images that should go unseen or overlooked, and it's really something that Leibowitz, and not just this portfolio of Disney characters or Disney fantasies, that she really does go through, and she really focuses on. Make sure that everything is flawless in every single one of her images. Right here is the Snow White's wicked stepmother, and the mirror on the wall, and where there's all done in post production. But you'll see in the final image here of the setup where she has 7, 8, 9, 10 different lights, all going on at once. And this is probably one of the most well-rounded, well-documented image or series that she's done. There's a lot on YouTube that you can go through and see for behind-the-scenes imagery and videos of what she's done here, from image that we'll get into in a second of Ursula the Sea Witch to the Princess and the Frog and so on. But it's all really, really well done. Right here's Rapunzel. Yes, that's Taylor Swift in there. But as you can see, everything's purposely lit. Right here's from Brave. Right here's the image of Ursula that I talked about. And this is actually probably this singular image right here you'll find the most documentation on, whether it's going to be on YouTube or on different websites. I know that there's a couple of websites out there that specifically deals with this image, the steps that Leibowitz went into for lighting this for lighting this image. The actual lighting diagram that I pulled is actually for this image as well, and the different layers that she put on and on and on for this in post production for this is actually really interesting. Right here's David Beckham. excuse me, and the and Prince Charming. And like I said, every single light in here is specifically done for this image. But right here, as I said, is a diagram for, I believe it was for the Ursula image, where you can see, here is the center star is actually Queen Latifah, who is the subject matter who did Ursula, but we're dealing with right here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different strobes in here, and then one, even a scrim in here, a large scrim to go through and help shade out some of the more powerful light coming in from camera left, or excuse me, camera right, and then a reflector in here, a handheld by assistant. And it's just crazy everything that she does to go through and meticulously light each and every individual scene. You guys can go through and do this even if you have 1 or 2 strobe lights. Don't be afraid to pull out your reflector. Make sure that walk around your scene, make sure it's well lit from every angle. Don't think that one angle is the way, or is the best way to go about it. Pull in a flashlight. Instead of one of these strobes in here, pull in a flashlight. And put some a piece of shirt, a clothing in front of it to go through and help diffuse that light, or a sheet. There's no reason why you should go through and settle with just one light in here. It's really easy, quite simple to do. Just use your imagination. What they say, necessity is a mother of invention. Use that to your benefit. Go about this and have fun. The last photographer that we're going to go through and touch on is David LaChapelle. Now, Chappelle's work is very popish. It's very bright. It's very colorful. I think with LaChapelle, he does have a lot of more dramatic lighting that he does use in here. He uses the beauty that he uses a round flash that goes over the lens to go through and help. Especially in his early days, to go through and help highlight every single one of, or excuse me, every part of the face, so there's no dramatic shadows in there, but he still allows for each and every nook and cranny to be lit, and you'll see, in a very specific way. But like I said, you'll see the very bright colors that he uses in here, which really help each individual image to be as full as what it can be. For instance, here's the image of Coolio that we have, where he uses neon colors in the background and allows the subject matters to wear a simple black and white to help him stand out, really pop against that, as far as the flat tones are concerned, against that very bright background. But you can also see one reason why I pulled this image into this portfolio is that he's pulled back, Coolio's pulled back enough away from that background that even though there may be no backlighting here, there's nothing behind between Coolio and the background of this room, that he's pulled back enough that there is no immediate hard shadows that from the subject matter against the back of the room. And I know that there's been a few instances where we've talked about that in the past between me and the class, 1 or 2 of your portfolios where that should be taken care of. This is a prime example of where you can see how to go through and do that and why that's important. Here we have where shadows are intentionally in place in there with Tupac Shakur, but it's lit up in such a way with diffusers and soft lights and other strobes in there and other means of lighting, where even the necklace, the gold necklace, and the diamonds in there are not reflecting a single light back. But the reason why I pull these in, the reason why these are great images to go through and look at, is because every single image is of a portrait, but these portraits are done in a single room, where he's repurposed the room every single time for each individual shoot. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, these were all done between the years of like 92 to 95, maybe 96. But he was really poor at this time. He went through and used the same apartment building for every single one of these shoots, and just repurposed it, repainted it, retiled it for every shoot. and which, for us starting out off as photographers, is a really important lesson that we should go through and think about. Is, if we have a single room in our apartment that we can use, or our house that we can use as a studio, that, just because we may not have, 18 million different backdrops, that we spend, $200 on a piece, why not go out to Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards and buy a can of paints and really paint up, do different colors, do different backgrounds. Yeah, is it paint in the rear by the end of the day? Yes, but we can also always get different looks in here. For instance, here's a great shot of the band, the Smashing Pumpkins, where you can see he actually used two different colors here. He used that gold on the camera left, and then the purple on the camera right, to get a really almost a two different style of lighting feel, even though he has probably, maybe two or three different strobes in here going off at once, to go through and get a nice even light over the band. But because of the way that he has stylized this as far as flash is concerned, we have a great sense of two different images combined into one, even though it's just one. And like I said, this is the same room as what this is. This is the same room as what this is. It's just depending on how you go through and utilize the space. Now here's an image of David Beckham. David Beckham, the same David Beckham that Leibowitz used right here in this image, which is a soccer star. If you guys know, if anybody knows anything about soccer, what's known in the rest of the world, football, he played for Manchester United, PSG, which is Paris Saint-Germain, LA Galaxy, and so on. Here's David Beckham, the same room as what this is, the same room as what this is, the same room as what this is, but repurposed for this portrait and lit with the ring light that goes around the lens, probably a beauty dish as well, but in a corner, he just reused probably the same corner, repurposed the corner, with different paint from here to here, to go through and get the shot. Use a different interior setup. So this is actually a weight room instead of a bathroom tile, and put up the pinups in here instead. And that's the one thing that, like I said, you have to go through and figure out, is how to go through and be creative with that room, but still maintain the same feel throughout the whole entire portrait profile of your collection. Now here is that same room again, but with more of a, let's say almost a Victorian fashion model style of look. But it's the same room, it's just repurposed. The same style of lighting is what you would see with, I would say, this image of, like I said, of Coolio. That image and this image is probably very well lit the same way. And this Brooke Shields right here, same room, just with neon lights in the background, and how all that draws your attention back to Brooke. It's the same room as was what this is. You have to go through and be creative. I can't stress that enough. The same room every single time. Everything, might be added to it, taken away. Lighting is all, is basically the same. Right, here's a picture of Britney Spears when she was like 17 years old, right after Hit Me Baby One More Time came out. With La Chappelle's help, she was able to go through and break away from that childhood teen pop sensation to the person that she became right after that, which was almost more of a sex symbol than anything else. But she was still able to play with that young feeling of changing from girl to womanhood, and he's still dealing with 7-8 different styles of light, but he gives it more of a 3D effect within the subject matter, similar as what he does here. If you're going back one image, with the way that the model casts that shadow against the background, and the same thing with Brooke Shields here, where you can see that within her collarbone she has that protruding light to dark, the more contrastial lighting in here, especially off to the camera right of her body. And same thing with David Beckham here with the light going behind him, and Tupac here with the light going behind, the shadows going behind him. Excuse me, not the lights, but it's purposely done every single time to go through and make every single one of these as unique as possible, but yet still have that same feeling of continuity that whoever looks at these knows that they're David LaChapelle's and nobody else's. It doesn't have to be because of the colors in here that he uses. It's because of the style that he, of the light that he uses, as well as the colors, as well as how he places the model. All of it's within here is the same. All of it's, very uniquely his. You can tell from one image to another that these are his from the 90s, because unfortunately, like Tupac's no longer alive. But every single one of these images are his images, and you can tell that they form a solid portfolio. Even though if these might be done for one magazine, which most of these are, I think it's Details magazine, if I'm not mistaken, that most of his shots are done for, or for like this image, which I believe was done for Rolling Stones. But you can tell, like I said, these are all his. Now here's a more recent image he did. I believe this was from 2006, 2007, so 10 years later. But you can still see it's still his signature shot style. It includes aspects of this image, and this image, all within one single image, which we get of right here. Now, like I said, it's more dramatic shadowing. We have, just like what it is with, you can say the David Beckham image, or the Tupac image, or let's say the Smashing Pumpkins image, or even this image here. This image, we have more dramatic style of lighting in here, but it's still his signature style. It's still more outlandish. It's still more purposeful. We don't lose really any detail in here, but every single portrait is still his. We still see what it's like. And as I said, we're going to go through and see one last image in here. It's his studio, it's behind the scenes studio image. And you can see he's still using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different strobes in here. Uses outside of the neon that he uses. I think this is a shot for, I can't remember who that is in there. I think it's Jet. I'm not 100% sure. But it's he uses a very tight space, which once again is the same image or same space he uses for this image, for this image, for this image, this image, this image, this image, this image. Every single, this image is the same spot, more or less, that he uses it every single time, just repurposes for whatever the subject matter that he shoots. And I think it's really important for everybody to go through and think about, to go through and understand that just because you have a limited space doesn't mean you can't go through and play around with that space. Play around with the lighting. Don't be satisfied with what you have. Always look for the ways to improve. Look for additional lighting, but make sure it's all your own. You have to have that continuity in there. You have to have that lighting signature that's yours, specifically yours. That's continuous throughout the shoot. It doesn't mean that the same lighting setup for every shoot, but the lighting aspect. Make sure that if you have shades or high contrastional shades in one, that it's continuous throughout every single one of the image, or every single one of the images throughout the portfolio. Or if it's flat lighting, make sure that's continuous. That's what's important here to do, and to do it well. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write me. I'm always on. I am when I'm around my computer for class time, which is the Blackboard IM. You can email me. Those are routed through my phone, so I get those all the time. I know Professor Bradford is also available at any given time to go through and answer any questions or anything else. I hope this has been helpful. Like I said, email us. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll can't wait to see what you guys have for your final parts of your portfolio. Thanks.